How are you, Mr. Priest?
Pretty good today.
Wow. I have to say, it's great to talk to you again. Do you remember me coming to visit you about 8 months ago?
I think so. You know,
Uh,
I'm getting to the time where I forget things a lot.
well, I obviously left a great impression after 4 hours with you. I left a very deep impression. I do, I do remember that you had a really wonderful Father Christmas collection. Do you still have that?
Oh yes, I still have them.
Is that behind you? It's somewhere behind you. I just wanted to let everyone know that you have a great Father Christmas collection. A couple of other things that are very important to say about you, sir, is that you are the last living American soldier who crossed the Ludendorff Bridge on the 7th of March, 1945,
Right.
which is a huge deal. It's a great honor for me to be talking to you. It's a great honor for us to be able to share this time with you. You literally made history on the 7th of March, 1945. Just wanted to add that the Americans that you crossed that bridge with, the last of 40 standing across the Rhine, that you guys, I believe, and because I'm writing a book about you right now, I believe that you guys had the single greatest impact of any small group of Americans in the European theater in World War II. Within a week, you crossed on the 7th of March, 1945. Within a week, 100,000 American soldiers were across the Rhine. Eisenhower, who we just talked about, called it the luckiest break of the war. And basically, you closed the final chapter of World War II in Europe on the Western Front. Once across the Rhine, the war was as good as over. It was a remarkable achievement. It took enormous courage on your behalf and your fellow soldiers. And we are here amazingly 80 years later almost to celebrate not only you, but that amazing achievement of daring, courage, and great fortitude. So thank you for being with us. And thank you above all for doing what you did in World War II, which was to risk your life day after day to liberate a continent from unbelievable evil. It was a great achievement. I've shown a photograph to everyone, Mr. Priest, of you.
Yes.
Uh, I think you can see it. It's of you before you went into combat. Can you tell us a little bit about your life before you ended up in Europe?
We don't see the photograph, but
Okay,
he wants to know what your life was before you went into the service.
Just a high school kid. That's about it. And then I went right from the service. I didn't finish up my diploma. I was 6 months too earlier, and they drafted me into the army.
so
Dating my
you
mother.
carry on, carry on. Yeah,
My mother.
that's a very important point. You did actually meet
Yes.
your future wife.
Yeah, you were dating mom.
Not
Yep. So, um, just an everyday high schooler that got drafted into the army.
Where did you grow up? You grew up in Michigan,
Yes, I did.
right?
Flint,
And you
Michigan.
so
In
I understand that you went into the U.S. Army and you first saw action in the Battle of the Bulge. Is that right?
That's right. Not much in the Battle of the Bulge. I
Right.
landed there from they took me from the army camp up to the Battle of the Bulge, and we was only there about a day or day and a half, and then we started down towards the Remagen Bridge.
So I remember you telling me that you got put in a tank, which you hated. Why did you hate being in a tank?
I don't know. It just to me they just wasn't my thing. That's it.
Did you say something about it rattling and making?
Well, it makes a lot of noise, yeah, for one thing, but it just seemed like it. I just something about it I didn't care for.
it was a very quick way to get killed if you got hit by a German Panzer. I mean, I
Yeah,
think I remember you saying that you asked to be moved out of that tank unit, and that's how you ended up being a scout. Is that right?
that's right. They asked me what I'd like to do, and I said I'd like to be scouting. Go ahead and then run patrols, and that's what they put me into, is running patrols.
Can you
So,
tell us can you tell us a little bit about that?
well, it's just to my experience. See, when I was home, I used to go out in the woods and get lost and go out and just find my way back. I never had any trouble getting lost. I was always be able to find my way real good. And they tell me anything to look for, and I look for it.
So do you have any stories about you going out and looking at it during World War II where you were on patrol out there scouting?
Oh yeah, lots of times. I've got pictures that I'd come up on troops and walked right up within 15 to 20 foot and took pictures of them. And no problems. I mean, I didn't have any problems at all that way. I very seldom would anybody recognize me that would know the any difference. I never carried a rifle. I carried a P-38 in a shoulder holster. And most of the fellows that went with me out, we didn't I told them to leave the rifles to home. They leave them in the hanks and just carry pistols. Because you go through the woods with a rifle and you make a lot of racket. You'll hit trees, you'll hit brush and things like that. And it's a lot of noise. So you want to be as quiet as you possibly can. If you can sneak up on a troop, well, then you can sneak up on them. Now, some of the pictures I've got in my albums it shows pictures of troops that I was up on them. In the same way with a fellow that was sleeping in a foxhole on a roadblock. I was right within 10 or 15 foot from him
You know
and took a
what,
picture
Paul?
of him.
Yeah, I just posted a picture for everyone to look at. I mean, that's remarkable. You've got a German there sleeping next to a foxhole.
Yeah,
That's from your album, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. And as long as the fellow said to shoot him, I said, no, I'm not going to shoot him. He's doing his job. I'm doing my job. So I just be quiet and take the picture, and I'd backed away and left him. Yeah, he's laying there sleeping in a foxhole on a roadblock. So on either side of him, there was troops on either side of him, 20, 30 foot yards away from him. And he'd be in another foxhole or something. So the thing to be in a good reconnaissance is to be quiet and sneak up on them. They don't know you're there. And
Well,
that's why it does not. I've gone in with troops where there'd be Germans on both sides of me and in back of me even. But I'd go in and take pictures and come right back out again. I never.
You're fine.
I just wanted to Paul. I just wanted to say, is it your daughter that's with you there today? Is your
Yeah,
daughter
I'm
with you?
here.
Hi there. How are you? Thank
Hi,
you so
I'm
much.
Lily.
Yeah. Hi, Lily.
Anymore, I forget.
Thank you
I
for
just
being with us
translate.
today. I just want to add that when I spoke to you, Mr. Priest, you mentioned that sometimes you would go out at night on a patrol for 10 miles or more. Do you remember doing that, going on those long night patrols?
And I didn't understand on that end.
Did
Oh,
you remember going on the long night patrols?
Oh yeah,
10
yeah,
miles out or whatever? That's
yeah.
what he was asking you.
so
So
what I found amazing was that you were quite an insubordinate young man. You didn't really obey orders that well.
did you obey orders or were you insubordinate?
Well, no, I obeyed orders pretty much. but the fellow that was in charge, the main man there, that he always asked me what to do because he didn't know any more about it than I did, but I knew more about it than he did. So he always asked me, "Well, what should we do here?" So I was more or less led the troop, but I mean the group that I was with, there was 8 of us, and I used to lead those groups, and they'd ask me all the questions.
Uh, uh, if I'm right in thinking, the reason why you were asked to lead the group was because you would go for mile after mile through thick forests at night. Germans could be anywhere, and yet you had this amazing ability to be able to literally retrace your footsteps to get back without being detected. What explains that talent that you had to be able to find your way back after mile of thick forest and woods? Um, how could you manage to do that? What was it about your childhood? How did you manage to do that?
It's just something I've got in my system that I had at that time that I could recognize trees. I could recognize the shape of a tree. I recognize the bush, and I'd follow those troops. And I never had any trouble. If I once went in, I could find my way back out.
He's always had an innate ability with directions.
Yeah.
He was always our navigator when I was growing up. Mom could get lost in a store. Dad he would sometimes even take her in one door and take her out another door so he could see how lost she would get. He was kind of evil that way. But he always had that ability to, I mean, whenever we drove anywhere, he knew exactly where we were going. And I think part of the woods part is he grew up in Michigan where there was a lot of trees. He would go out hunting. So there was a lot of navigating in the woods before that.
So, Mr. Priest, tell us about when you were patrolling a little bit more. I understand that you had 2 German pistols. You had them in shoulder holsters. You didn't carry a carbine, didn't carry an M1, but you had these 2 German pistols in shoulder holsters. Where
Really?
did you where did you get the pistols from?
I got them off from officers and things when I got into troops, pick up troops.
So where,
Yeah, from Germans.
so how did you get, I mean, were they dead? Were they?
No, they was alive, but when they captured them, they had to turn over their artillery and stuff like that. So I just collected them, and at that time, I had no problem getting guns. You could get them any place if you get them off in the troops.
So your reasoning for that was that if you got close up to the enemy, then it would be far better to have a fast draw with a pistol and a German pistol, because they were really good pistols, than it was with a rifle. Was that your thinking that you would just have a fast draw with a pistol?
Did you think it would be faster to draw with a pistol?
Well,
And that's
yes,
why you carried them?
but a lot of things, a pistol and a shoulder holster is more quiet than a rifle. If you're carrying a rifle, you'll hit the brush, you'll hit trees and things like this, just brush more or less than anything else that makes noise. So being as quiet as you can, your pistol, you had no problems with them because they didn't make any noise unless you had them in your hand.
Uh, what was the closest you came to being killed in World War II?
Pardon?
What was
What
the
was the
closest?
closest you came to being killed?
What was the closest you came to being killed in World War II?
Well, a lot of close
But
calls.
what was the closest one you had?
The closest one I had was when I got hit in the helmet with a wooden bullet.
Right. Did you have any close? We'll talk about that later because that happens after you've crossed the Ludendorff Bridge. But I think in the late winter of 1944, early 1945, you were on patrol. Did you ever get come across any Germans when you were on patrol?
Did you ever come across Germans that noticed you
No.
when you were on patrol?
I mean, a few of them, they would notice me, but they didn't seem to pay that much attention to you. It's
Right.
I don't know what it is. It's just it's hard to tell the person, really.
Are you thinking about a specific story he told you?
Well, I'm thinking about him in before he arrives at the Ludendorff Bridge.
Right.
So were you busted down to private from corporal? Were you demoted?
Were you demoted to private from corporal?
Oh yeah,
Why?
because I just didn't want it.
Yeah, but why did they demote you?
But because I don't know why that was, really, to tell the truth, that I can remember right at the time. Because I've been up and down. I was a corporal for a while, and then I was back to a private again, and I was a PFC. And I just liked that position. I didn't like the responsibility, more or less.
How did you get to the Rhine River? Tell us about your journey from the Ardennes to the Rhine River. So that's like the period of February of 1945. How did you get to be close to the Rhine River?
Well, we just kept going ahead. Normally, I had a half track to my disposal and a jeep, and that was I'd be a day ahead of the troops and running patrols, and I'd get ahead of a lot of times. I was way ahead of where the troops was, running patrols and giving back information of what's up there.
So you were in a reconnaissance patrol attached to the Ninth Armored Division. I'm right in thinking that, yeah? That you were in a reconnaissance unit which was attached to the Ninth Armored Division.
You were a reconnaissance unit attached to the Ninth
Yes,
Armor?
it was attached to it.
Right. So I just want to give everybody listening a broader view of the situation in late February of 1945. The Allies are pressing toward the Third Reich. You've crossed the Siegfried Line. That was a hell of an achievement. And now the Rhine is the last big obstacle between you and your fellow GIs and Berlin, which is where you think you're headed. There's a big problem, which is that there's only one bridge in certainly the early days of March 1945. There's only one bridge left standing across the Rhine, and that's at Remagen. It's the Ludendorff Bridge.
Right, that's
One
right.
of one of 40 bridges. Um, why do you think that that bridge was the last bridge to be still standing?
Well, really, it was the best built bridge of any of them. It
Right.
was very substantial, and it lasted a lot because you figure out how much times they bombed around it and shot artillery in on it, and it just took a long time for it to fall down. It was just a well built bridge. And that was the other ones that they normally got, like the bridge too far. That was all concrete. As soon as it was hit, it would just broke apart. But this one here was mostly all steel and steel construction, and so it stayed together more than any of the rest of them.
Right. So take us to the morning of the 7th of March, 1945. Where were you at daylight? Where were you very early on the 7th of March, 1945?
Oh, let's see. I would say offhand, as near as I can remember right now, is we just started across the bridge, and I was going from pillar to pillar across the bridge. When I ended up on the German side, on the opposite side of the bridge was where the foxhole was. And that's where I stayed the rest of that time until the rest of the troops got over there. But I was out ahead of them with another patrol, and we was out going ahead from pillar to pillar.
Right. Mr. Priest, I've just posted another picture for everyone. You can see it in the chat box, and this is of. Can you recognize that gentleman there?
Yeah, let me see if I can pull it up bigger for him. My chat. I'm on my work computer, so it's kind of.
Okay. Well,
It's kind of small.
I'm gonna cheat a little here and tell everybody who that is. That's Carl Timmerman, and that's the officer, the first American officer to lead you guys across the
Yeah.
Ludendorff Bridge on the 7th of March, 1945. Do you remember much about him, Mr. Priest?
I don't remember much about him. We had orders, but we just more or less followed the orders. I
Right.
mean, that's went on our own.
Did you have much contact with him?
I didn't have much contact with him at all.
Oh, that's the bridge.
There's the bridge. Now we're coming back to it. And after I went from pillar to pillar going across the bridge, I was over the bridge, and it was 15 of us, about 14 or 15 of us. It was over the bridge before the rest of them was. So I was on the one side of the German side before the troops got there.
I'll talk a little bit about. We want to hear from you, sir, but I'll talk a little bit about Timmerman for a while. So Timmerman, you may not know this, but Timmerman's was his mother was German, and his father was a deserter in World War One. So Timmerman's father, a doughboy, deserts, marries a German woman, and then Carl there is the product of their union, and he comes back with his parents to America in the early 1920s, and he grows up. Carl Timmerman grows up in the Midwest where you grew up, and he's taunted all the time as a boy for being the son of a deserter. You know, he's called a yellow SOB, the son of a yellow SOB, etc. And so for him, when he receives the order to lead you guys across the Rhine at the Ludendorff Bridge, he thinks this is a suicidal order because he's wondering, if I do that, they'll just blow the bridge up as we try and cross. Did you think as you crossed that bridge on the afternoon of the 7th of March that the bridge would be blown up under your feet?
Well, yes, we heard it was going to be,
Right.
but we never run across anything that proved it until we got down to the dynamite underneath the bridge.
Right.
And then the material that they had there to explode it was not the best material. It was faulty material, and that's the reason we had good luck with it. And we caught a lot of that. I caught a lot of that loose. Let it drop into the river.
So you started off on the western side of the bridge. I believe that you and your fellow GIs arrived at that part of the bridge around about 2:30 in the afternoon, and you had been told that the bridge was going to be blown at around about 4 o'clock. This is my understanding from my research. So you had a race against the clock. You had to get across that bridge before 4 o'clock, otherwise it would be blown up beneath you. The Germans had already tried to destroy the bridge earlier that day, but they, as you mentioned, hadn't placed sufficient explosives there, and they failed to blow up the bridge, although it was somewhat damaged. Can you tell us what your thoughts were, what you were feeling and thinking as you set off across the bridge? Because you were under intense machine gun fire. Bullets were coming at you as you tried to cross the bridge. Is that right?
That's right. There was I went, like I said, from pillar to pillar, from Bridgeport to Bridgeport, and I worked across the bridge. I was across the bridge before the group that I was with. We went across real quick.
How
We
did
did.
that feel?
Pardon?
How did that feel?
Oh, at the time, who was thinking?
At the time you weren't thinking? Okay.
You know, it was just the main thing that I thought about was, tell the truth, is getting from this side to that side and staying alive. That's why I was going from pillar to pillar to get there. And I had no problems myself. I didn't get caught that way. I just made it across the bridge.
Were they firing when you were going across?
Oh yes, there was firing at us.
Okay.
When I talked to you, Mr. Priest, you said that when you went from pillar to pillar, you guys waited for the German machine gunners on the other side of the bridge. You waited for them to reload, and it was when they were reloading
And then move.
that you moved. Tell us more
We
about
moved.
what else do you remember about? I guess it was about 20 minutes you told me that it took you to get across the bridge. What else do you remember about crossing the bridge?
Really, I can't go back on too much of it, other than I remember just going from pillar to pillar to get across the bridge. And when I got on the other side, I stayed in that foxhole that was blowed in the middle of the road.
So you would wait for them to take a break and then you would run?
Yeah. As soon as they let up firing a little bit, it took off. Went to the next one. It just moved. I would say 5-10 minutes apart. You move ahead. But they was firing all the time. But you have to just, I don't know, I don't know how I did it, but I do it.
Uh, did you see anybody get shot near you? Was anybody
Oh
killed near you?
yes, there was a couple of them got hit right beside of me.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of times. I've had I had one I was laying in a foxhole with that knob where was brit all blowed out at the end of the bridge, and he was laying beside of me, and I didn't even know he got hit. And he'd got hit, but I didn't. But
So the bridge had existed since just after World War One, and on the eastern side there were two towers that faced you, and most of the machine gun fire and the bullets came from those two towers. Do you remember
oh
those
shoot,
two towers?
pardon?
You
Do you
remember
remember
those
the two
towers?
towers? The two
I
towers where the
remember the
bullets were
tower.
coming from?
I got pictures of them
Right.
in
So
my album.
ahead of you, you're running across, and it's around about between 2:30 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon on the 7th of March, 1945. And ahead of you are a small group. You're in the first 15, 20 guys to run across. But right ahead of you is this gentleman here. I've just posted a picture called Drabik, Alexander Drabik. Do you remember him?
No, I
Drabik?
don't right offhand.
Okay,
Probably
Let me
would if I saw him, but
see if I can
right.
bring a picture up.
yeah.
So this guy
Comes.
here, this guy here is being decorated because he's the very first American to get across the Ludendorff Bridge.
Well, he was the very first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Um,
I was right in with that group, but right behind him, right with him.
whoa. Huh. What did you
That's what I
find when you
said.
got what did you find when you got to the other side of the bridge? What happened when you got to the other side of the bridge?
You thank God that you made it.
And then what?
Pardon?
And then what?
Then we went on to then I went on into the railroad crossing to the tunnel. We
Right.
checked out the tunnel just to make sure that there wasn't troops in there, and the ones that was in there was injured.
No, but when you first got across the bridge, you said you got in a foxhole.
Oh yeah,
But what did everybody else do?
they done the same thing. Many of us got into the foxhole of the quarter behind pillars.
And then,
Because when those towers on both sides, one side had the guns in it, more or less, than the other side did. And if you could get up in there, all right, it was okay. But it was hard to get over there from that spot, from where the bombing was, to the bridge. To the tower, because the towers was hard to get into.
Right. We have a photograph that, if you look, you can see the photograph above the picture of Drabik, and that's actually that's a great photograph because it shows you the tunnel that you just mentioned. You know, you come across the bridge, the planking, the bridge has been damaged. You can look down, you can see the Rhine swirling beneath your feet.
Yeah, there they are.
You go from pillar
When
to
you're into
pillar.
the one tower, that's
Yeah,
the other towers on the other side of the river.
yeah. So you
Yeah,
go from pillar to pillar, and then you're under intense machine gun fire. The machine gun fire is coming from each one of those towers that we can all see in the photograph there. And then there's a guy called Sergeant Delizio, who takes out the machine gun in one of those towers and basically quietens down the fire. And then you guys, you told me you go from the towers and then you go into the tunnel. That must have been a very frightening experience, not just crossing the bridge under fire, but then going into this tunnel where you have to try and root out the enemy. Do you remember going into the tunnel?
yeah, I remember going into the tunnel because you just this it's hard to tell a person what they would do during the war because these things happen so fast that you just go ahead and do them. You don't stop thinking a lot of things of how you do them. Now, on the reconnaissance and like that, most of the time I was out in front. There was no troops around me, just to my own group.
so it was kind of
But
autopilot.
going across the bridge like that, where it was just everybody was moving to get on the other side.
Now, what was it like going into the tunnel?
Oh, going into the tunnel,
Mhm.
you went in blank. You didn't know what was in there because at the tunnel actually was not dark, but still it was dark. It was things you can't see in there. They'd be troops that be decided, be injured, but most of them was in the tunnels that we run across was injured, and it wasn't fighting. It was just in there. That's where they were staying in.
When you at some point the tunnel gets cleared, and then you guys have to fight further inland, or rather further into the Third Reich once you've crossed the Rhine. Um, I've got a photograph I'm just posted there that I took of you, and you're actually holding a, a road sign with Remagen on it, and it's got bullet holes in it. Can you tell us a little bit about the sign, the bullet hole sign of Remagen that I'm showing everyone there?
Well, I've had that, and this company got a hold of me and wanted me to sign this sign, so I signed a whole bunch of them, and they was selling them, but it was Remagen signs, and they had bullet holes in them, but they was I signed them. One other fellow didn't sign them. One fellow signed them. He signed about probably a dozen of them, and he keeled over.
Do you remember seeing that sign when you went?
Oh yes,
That's
yes,
what they want to know about, is
yeah.
that sign over there.
Yeah, I seen the one over there. Yeah,
There's
I
another,
took. Matter of fact, I got pictures of it. If you get in my book and look
yeah.
into the thing, you'd find the pictures of that signs.
So I've shown that sign, but there's another sign that you were involved in actually putting up in World War II on the as Americans came toward the bridge to cross it. There was a sign that you actually helped put up, which was something like this. The sign read something.
Across the Rhine River at dry feet. Compliments of 9th Armored Division.
Do
I'll
you
never forget
remember?
that because I worked on that thing and we put it up above the tunnel.
Right, well, which is a much photographed sign that GIs were crossing the Rhine finally because of you guys, and that they were keeping their feet dry. Um, what happened after the 7th of March to you, Mr. Priest? Because I think that's when you were hit in the
That's,
head with a wooden bullet.
yeah, I was going up on a railroad bed and there was rocks on both sides. You just dug right through the wall. You know, they went through there. And all of a sudden, I just walking along, and all of a sudden, I just don't remember anything. Next thing I remember is two fellows was looking at me and dragging me back to a hole. So they dragged me back to a little cut. Went through the wall, and that's where they brought me to. As soon as they brought me, they took off. So I was left out there. But the next day, when I went back up by there, the same tracks, yeah, I saw the helmet, but I kicked myself around the block for not picking it up. But at that time, he wasn't thinking about it. The thing he was thinking about was getting out of there alive.
Why were they using wooden bullets?
Well, they used everything towards the end of the war. Artillery shells was filled with nails and screws and anything they could get to fill into them, and then they would fire them out. The same way with wooden bullets. They had these wooden bullets. When a wooden bullet hits you didn't. It's not like a metal bullet. A metal bullet goes in and they can dig a metal bullet back out. But when a wooden bullet goes in, it splinters and it goes all over in there. So there's probably 50, 60 pieces of wood in the arm or wherever you got hit. So that was why it was kind of hard to do. But wooden bullets, I question it, and people question it. So one of the fellows happened to go to the plant where they make ammunition, and they give me the book. I got the copy, and it's right from the factory. And they made wooden bullets. And here was a wooden bullet listed in there with all the other ones and all the different calibers. So I got that in my album. It's in my album, and anybody can see it that wants to see it.
How badly hit were you? I mean, what did it do to your head? What happened to your head?
Well, at mine, it didn't do anything. It just put a crease right down the side of the helmet.
It knocked you out.
It didn't go through. Yeah, it knocked me out. That's what I said. I didn't recognize anything until those two guys to dragging me back under the bridge. Here was a little door, him going off to the side, and not actually a hole through the wall. That's what it was.
Did you get any medical attention?
Pardon?
Did you get any medical attention?
No, I didn't get no medical attention at that time. Just these two fellows that dragged me back there. And they gave me medicine, that they had, like aspirins and things like that. But all I had was a heck of a good headache. I had that for about 5 days afterwards.
So, can you tell us about the rest of your war? What happened after you'd crossed the bridge? What happened to you after you crossed the bridge?
We went up that railroad tracks, going on up towards Czechoslovakia. And that's where we was headed. I ended up in Czechoslovakia, guarding Rosenthal Sippendal plant, where they make dishes and cups and things like this, and figurines and things. And then they stepped us there. We guarded that plant because if we didn't, the guys was just stealing the line. So we got done with. They just let us pick out what we wanted. I still got a couple of them around here someplace, the chickens and things. But we didn't think it too much about being anything of value until after the war.
Well, you mentioned that. I posted a photograph earlier on because you've got quite a little bit of booty there in your home. You're talking to us from not far from Rapid City, but when I came to visit you, you showed me a lot of the things that you managed to pick up, shall I say, uh, at the end of the war or during the war. I've got a photograph of there of you with a Nazi flag. How many flags do you have? How many Nazi flags do you have?
How many Nazi flags do you have?
How many what?
Nazi flags do you have?
Nazi flags? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 of them. And the big one that I had was a 9 by 15. And I got rid of that because I had just no place I could show it. I couldn't, it was so big, you can't do anything with it. Now, the little ones I've got is the ones that was on the front end of the cars, on a command car. It'd be out on the front fenders. And then I got 2 of them that was table ones. I mean, looked like table ones, but they're about 15 foot long, and they got the swastika in the middle, about 4 to 5 foot across. And I use them for display on tables. I've just spread them out on a table and then putting my specs and things on top of it. Like the pistols and things, I got duplications of all of them now. So I can take them out to the schools and different things and put them out and show them.
Do you still go to schools, Mr. Priest? Do
Well,
you
yeah,
still?
I haven't this year because I've been laid up for the full year. But
Right.
getting into, I was going to Czechoslovakia, I mean, Sweden. And they were supposed to be leaving the next morning. The boy and I went over to have my physical, and I had my physical on the way out. Getting into his car, he has running boards on the side of it. His car sits high. So he had running boards, and somewhere it was slippery, and I slipped off, and he fell right on top of me. And boy, it just bent my leg right back underneath it.
He's been laid up for about 6
Then
months.
I was laid up for 6 months. I couldn't move.
So
Now I'm just getting to moving again.
I understand that you went to the 80th anniversary of D-Day. Did you go to D-Day on the 80th anniversary? You went to Normandy on the 80th anniversary?
Yeah, I didn't land in Normandy. I landed in Marseille, France.
But you went on the trip.
But I went on the trip. Yes, they wanted me to go on the trip. So I went with them, and I guess it turned out pretty good. I mean, I got good reports on it. I got a book right here that they sent me with all the pictures in it and everything. And I met a lot of people there.
His only complaint on the trip was the fact that he said they don't eat real food. They have all this fancy dancy food.
What do you so how old are you today, Mr. Priest? How old are you right now?
Now, at Christmas time, I was 99 years old.
Wow. So when's your birthday?
December the 25th.
Oh my goodness. How could I
Christmas
forget?
Day.
How could I forget that you're a Christmas baby?
So I'm starting into the 100 now.
Wow. Well, congratulations. Do you plan to go back for the 80th anniversary of the crossing of the bridge? Are you planning to go back to
Well, I've
Remagen?
been back.
But
Right.
would you like to go back for the 80th?
I'd like to go back again, but I've got pictures in my albums here that we went back over with me and the wife and went through the whole route that I took during the war and recognized every town that I went into just about, and ended up at the Remagen Bridge, and they had a parade there for us.
But if he gets the option, he would probably go.
Oh, I would go.
So
As long as I can go, I'll go.
So at 99 years old, you're very happy to go back to Germany on the 7th of March this year and look at what remains of the Ludendorff Bridge.
Well, yeah, I'd seen everything that's left of it.
But would you like to go again this year?
I'd love to go again. Yeah.
Yes.
I go back again. That's why I've said I was supposed to be heading for Sweden, and today I fell down and got this leg bent. And that's why I laid up then for 6 months. And It's been they want me to go, but I don't know when.
So
So
I
Delta Airlines gets a hold of me all the time. I was talking to him yesterday.
So I wanted to just back up a little bit. I've put another photograph there, and that's of the bridge after it collapsed on the 17th of March,
Yeah,
1945. So you guys crossed on the 7th, and the Germans then did everything they possibly could to try and destroy the bridge. That was the heaviest anti-aircraft fire that you could ever encounter in World War II, was along the riverside at Remagen. Incredibly intense anti-aircraft fire from the Americans. There were more than 300 different German sorties. They used the first jet bombers in history to try and hit the bridge. They fired V2 rockets at the bridge to try and destroy it. And then on the 17th of March, it collapsed
it
simply
just
through
fell
the
down.
rain. Do you remember? Do you remember hearing about the bridge collapse? Do you remember that?
I remember seeing it the day after it collapsed. I was up on the railroad tracks way up north of town,
Right.
up towards the mountain up there, and up where the artillery guns was on at the time, the 88s. It
So,
was up on the mountain, up on the top, and I was
right,
up there the day that the bridge collapsed.
right, because we can see in that photograph, you can see the bridge that has collapsed into the water, and then you can see the massive, the very high hill on the other side where the tunnel goes into, and you were just to the north of that, yeah, when you heard about it collapsing.
Here somewhere.
I was up on the top of this knoll, over on the top here.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah,
So
there's 88 guns up there, and had them
you
up
had a
there on the top of that mountain.
so you had a perfect view of the bridge after it collapsed.
Oh yes, after it collapsed.
And what did you think?
Just what did I think? Nothing much. I was off from it. That's all I thought.
Yeah, no.
No, the only ones that was working on the bridge was the fellows working on the bridge. It really collapsed with it.
Yeah, I think
Not many troops was there, as for military troops.
right,
I mean, there was engineers working on the bridge trying to patch it up to get it because they traveled so many tanks and trucks and things across it. That's what shook it apart
right,
because it'd been bombed around the outside of it and exploded around the base of it so much that it just weakened it. So the vibration of all of that driving across there is what really collapsed the bridge.
right. I think more than 40 American engineers were killed when the bridge collapsed.
I forgot how many I got it listed in my book. It shows pictures of it.
When did you come back to the States, Mr. Priest? When did you come back to the United
Oh,
States?
I come back here in August,
Right. And then
and
what did you
that's
do
when I
after the
got
war?
married.
Oh, okay. So you married the girl that you met before you went over there, yeah?
Yeah, well, I was guarding the Rosenthal Shippendale plant when they come up and then dividers it up. And part of us went through to Japan, and the other part went through the States. So they do names, and I was one of them, the one that went through the States. So that's when I come back, and we got married. But
And then what did you do after the war?
after the war, they just transferred us from camp to camp. And that's what I said. I got tired of Sham transferring us around one day. They just come in and said to me, "Do you want to go home?" And I said, "I'd go home anytime." They said, "Okay, we're signing up to go because we don't know where to put you next. We've been charging them from different camps." I went to Camp Kentucky, and I went to another one, and I was in all over in the states, different camps. There was Camp Bell, and then there was Camp Hood that I went to, another one I went to. And they just kept transferring me around because they didn't know where to put us.
Then you went home and married mom.
Went home, and I was discharged at home.
Then what did
What did you do? What did you do then? Your daughter's asking all the right questions.
What I do it,
what
you
did you
name
do
it,
then?
I've done it.
What did you do after you married mom?
What?
What did you do after you married mom?
Oh, she came down to Campbell, Kentucky. And then I was down there for about 2 months after we got married. And then they discharged me. They said, they're going to send you home. There's no place to put you. We don't know where to put all of you fellows. So
When you went home, what did you do?
I went home. And then after I went home, I just went to work in a factory and different things. I landed just about everything. I worked on snowmobiles. I worked on helicopters. I worked on cars, race cars, run race cars, build them, run them.
He used
And
to race cars
I used
on
to
a
race.
little track.
Yep. I had a little 32 window, 3-window coupe, Ford coupe. I made it into a race car and put springs in the roof. I was the first one to put bars in the ceiling.
Oh wow! You also helped kids cross the road. You were a crossing guard, weren't you, for quite a while?
Oh, I've been a crossing guard. I was a crossing guard out here when I come out to South Dakota.
Right.
And I had 13 years of crossing guard.
Okay. Um, it, I know that when I came to see you, that you pulled out quite a few mementos. Do you still have that lump of the Ludendorff Bridge? Do you have that
Oh, yeah.
around anywhere?
Yeah. I got the whole book, everything.
But
I
do you
got
have the
pictures, pictures and pictures.
can I don't I guess this is an impossible thing to do, but do you have the piece of the Ludendorff Bridge that you showed me? Do you have
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Where is
Yeah.
it?
I got it. It's in my case right here.
Is there any way that you could show us the piece of the Ludendorff Bridge? Would that be possible?
I don't think I can get in to
We
get
can't
it.
get into the case right now.
Not
Okay.
easy.
Well, not easy.
Sorry.
I mean, I could get in if I got a couple hours to get the stuff out of the way.
Well, I
It
don't.
takes me about 15, 20 minutes to get into it.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry about that. I should have asked you guys before we arranged the interview, but um, believe it, everybody will believe me when I say that you actually have a piece of the Ludendorff Bridge that you brought back.
Right. Right.
Yep.
Yep. I got a piece of the Ludendorff Bridge. I got the flags that I brought back from over there too, that I took off on cars and different things. And I brought back everything. Anything I could get back, I could get back. And all these guns that I have here in the case now, I've had them all stolen, and I've reduped them with duplicate guns because I can't take a live gun into the school.
Right.
I got all of them
Yeah.
listed that I had listed. It was back in Flint, Michigan.
I guess taking a real a pistol into a high school in the US might not be a very good idea these days, yeah?
No, they loved it.
They used to let them, and then it was like, no, we can't do that.
No, we can't do it anymore. They no, I
I wonder
used to
why.
go in once a year and put on a whole display, set up about 3 tables of just displays of things that I brought back from Germany. And I got pictures and pictures and pictures. I got the first jet that I saw go over the bridge. I got a picture of that, and things like that I brought back with me. But everything that I brought back, and I carried with me up on deck. Anything that I left in the hole, I had a submachine gun that I left in my barracks bag in the hole. That was stolen. So I've got a duplicate of that, an M46.
We had a question from someone, Mr. Priest, about the daggers, because I know that you have some daggers. Do you have a bunch of daggers?
Yep, I got the SS Trooper, and that's SS Trooper's knife. And we die for the cause. says on the blade. And that's in my case here with my displays. I got them all in cases, so they're all, I can set them up in a display in a room. I don't have anything loose.
So I want to just ask a few questions. We've had a lot of comments from our viewers, a wonderful group of viewers. I'm sure they, like me, are just, I'm almost speechless being able to talk to you about what happened on that very important day. I wanted to stress to everybody that the 7th of March, 1945 was a very, very important day in World War II. It really did mark the final glorious achievement of American forces in the European theater. If you think about it this way, Mr. Priest, you know, after Pearl Harbor, when Germany declared war on the United States, the primary goal, the end goal, the mission was to get to the Rhine River.
Right.
That was the way that you were going to beat Nazi Germany. And so when you crossed that bridge almost 80 years ago, you became part of that cohort of Americans, a small group of Americans who achieved the mission. You were there first. We're not talking about Omaha Beach. We're not talking about any other moment in World War II. You guys got across the Rhine River. You got the job done first. You broke the final door into Nazi Germany wide open, and the war was over within 6 weeks. Now, I have to say, I have to add to this, which is that you crossing the Rhine River, your courage, your determination, your sacrifice, that saved tens and tens of thousands of American lives. Bradley said it, Eisenhower wrote about it. You guys getting across the Rhine, that allowed us to create a bridgehead. You shortened the war, possibly by months, and you saved tens and tens of thousands of American troops' lives, let alone German lives. It's an extraordinary, amazing achievement. How do you feel about that today? When you look back on what happened that day, are you really proud?
Am I what?
Are you
Are you
proud?
really proud? Are you very
Am I
proud?
proud? I'm proud to myself, but you know, every time you mention it to anybody, whether they say you're bragging about what you did during the war, well, okay, so I saved you from fighting that much longer because by us taking the bridge, that was the last bridge on the Rhine River.
What he was saying.
And as soon as we got across that, well, then the war started going downhill. The soldiers had given up all over, going up these tracks and things that have fellows walk right out of the woods.
How do you feel about your accomplishment of all that today?
I feel good about my accomplishments of doing it. I mean, I'm not a hero. Don't get me wrong. I'm not that way. But I mean, I survived. That's the big. And if you run patrols like I did during the war, that was strictly my ability of doing things because I knew how to do it. I wandered through the woods and to go about. I can take off from going through the woods. Maybe not now because I've lost a lot of memory, you know, in my years. But I used to go out in the woods and never get lost. I could find my way in, turn right around, come right back out the same way I went in.
Okay.
What did
Just
you
by
think about
recognizing things.
Mr. Priest? What did you think about the movie, The Bridge at Remagen? Have you seen the movie, The Bridge at Remagen?
Have I seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen it 3 times now.
What did you think about it?
What do I think about it?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a tourist trap.
What about the movie?
The movie was pretty good, except for they had to put a woman in there and showed herself off, you know, took the blouse off. But otherwise, the movie itself was based good.
Yeah.
But they had to stick some
Other
other
stuff
things in there that it wasn't quite true. So, but otherwise, No, we were was on the road all the time, all the time, all the time.
So you didn't like the fact that they had a pretty woman in the film. You didn't like the pretty woman in the film.
No, that's the
There were
only
no,
thing.
there were no pretty women there when you went across?
Was there any women there?
When you went across?
Yeah, there might have been, but I mean, I didn't pay any attention to them at the time. You was busy going down. But no, but no, there was people there. You know, it's just the idea that the one inn I stayed in, there was two women in that one. The woman and her daughter, and they had that, so we got along good with it.
So you as you crossed the bridge, you didn't say "Guten Tag, mein Fräulein." You didn't have time to say that, no?
No, 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 no.
Um, so we have a couple of comments here. A couple of people have said that they have really enjoyed the presentation. Uh, Somebody else pointed out that why is it that you guys all refuse to call yourselves heroes? Why don't you accept or say that you're a hero, Mr. Priest?
I just don't feel that I'm that hero, that much of a hero. Now, like the one machine gun nest that I took that I got my good conduct medal from. That one there, I was I was by myself. So my troops was pinned down below. So the troops was the group that I was with, but they couldn't get up. I was up by myself. After I fired into the pillbox a couple times, out they come, one after another. They just gave up. So, but it's hard to tell a person what you would do during the times, you know, because like I said, how would I do that otherwise? But I took the bell box.
Well, to everybody listening this morning, I want to say thank you for joining us, and I want to stress that we all think you're a hero, Mr. Priest. You are the definition of a hero. If we can't call you a hero, who can we call a hero? I want to thank you for joining us. I want to thank you for your service in World War II. I want to thank you for being there on that very important day and making such a massive difference to the outcome of that most deadly conflict in history. You really did make a huge impact when you crossed that bridge that day. You've been an awesome interview. I've really enjoyed every moment of it, and I enjoyed meeting you. I just want to wish you all the best. And if you do go back on the 80th anniversary this March, please let me know, and I'd love to join you.
Oh, I'd love to have you.
Yeah, I'd love to come with you. That'd be amazing. It'd be amazing.
Going back to Germany, the last time I went over, every town I went into, I recognize. I mean,
Right.
it's funny how I can remember things that at that time, but things that happened here 2 months ago, I can't remember.
Well,
But you
remembering
know, the old things that, like I said, that how the one boy brought a radio back and the woman's carrying his gun and stuff, and he's carrying a radio. So things like this, I mean, you can tell stories till they're coming out your ears. I go and talk to groups, and they'll say, "How long can you talk?" I said, "How long do you want me to talk?" So
well,
I said, "Well, can you go a half hour?" Or so I can go longer. I can go 2 hours.
well,
But
next, we'd love to talk to you again, and next time we'll make sure that we tell you to bring out your piece of the bridge, because that would be lovely to see you holding that piece of the bridge. We're running out of time. I want to thank you again, sir, and thank your daughter. What a great interviewer she is. She's obviously after my job. She does a much better job of it than me.
I'm just
And I
a
want
teacher.
to, oh, thank you. Well, we love teachers.
he helps me out because I can't hear too good. I can't see too good anymore. So she's my backup person.
Well, we're all immensely privileged to be able to spend an hour with the only person alive on this planet who was there on the 7th of March, 1945, one of the most important dates in the 20th century and certainly World War II. It's been a great
Yeah.
honor, Mr. Priest. Hope you have a wonderful spring. See you soon.
Thank you very much.